With us now, you know him, Congressman Glenn Ivey of Maryland. Okay, that was a pretty happy human being that we heard from there in Chairman Michael Whatley. The Republicans are feeling very good right now. What did you hear and what do you say to him?
Well, I feel good about where we're going at this point. Obviously the president had a tough night on Thursday, but I thought he bounced back great on Friday with the rally in North Carolina. And he looked like the person that I've been seeing at the State of the Union and when he did one of the campaign speeches in Philadelphia that I had a chance to attend. So I feel okay about where all of that stuff is. And I think we're just needing to get back on track with the outreach to the voters to explain the great things he's done with respect to the economy. Inflation was up, but it's been coming down. We got all-time lows for unemployment. I think it's 15 million new jobs. There's a great story to tell. The key is we just can't focus only on macro terms. We have to explain to individuals what the personal benefits have been to them and make it clear in that respect.
So there's really two conversations going on here. There's one about whether or not Joe Biden is the best person to face Donald Trump in November. And there's another conversation about whether Joe Biden is fit to serve 4 more years on to when he's 86 years old.
Yeah.
If we split those, and you said so you've answered the question about and you feel confident Democrats should stick with him?
I do.
If that's true, what can you say to people who watched him on stage and said that they don't feel comfortable with him in the job?
I'd say keep watching and think back on what you've seen over the past 4 years as far as his performance. I think he's been fine and, frequently great. I thought State of the Union, he was outstanding. And he looked great on Friday in North Carolina as well. And, governance is the biggest part of the job, not just the performance and theater part. And I think he's done a great job there, too. And I think a lot of the things that we're seeing from the standpoint of the great work he did with Ukraine and rebuilding the NATO alliance that Donald Trump had destroyed, I think is important. And I really think abortion is a big issue that the public is going to focus on. The president was lying about everybody wanting to get rid of Roe. It's clear in state after state and election after election that actually people want Roe back. And I think we have to draw that difference. Actually, the president did a good job of that on Thursday night.
I pay a lot of attention to what Jim Clyburn says. No one has been more influential, actually, in shaping the Democratic Party of the 21st century. No one individual has been more influential, given his perch in South Carolina and the role of kingmaker and all of that. And I want you to hear or look at what he said when he was asked, I think by USA Today, about a change at the top of the ticket. He said, I'm a Biden-Harris person, so I'm not getting away from that. I'm for Biden-Harris. I'm going to be for Biden if Harris ain't there, and I'm going to be for Harris if Biden ain't there. Now, I have been around long enough to know what it looks like when somebody puts a toe in the water and a little positioning is taking place. Is that him holding a place in line for Kamala Harris if something happens?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, he's certainly an iconic figure. But, I think she's done a great job, too. She came out, in fact, she was in my district on Monday, and we were talking about abortion and, issues along that front at a rally. And, she was outstanding as well. I've known her for 20 years when we were both local prosecutors. And I think she's been strong as vice president and really continued to grow.
So I know you're not going to come here with me, but if Joe Biden was abducted by aliens, if he was no longer the Democratic nominee, would she have your support?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'm hoping the aliens leave us alone.
Leave him alone. Yeah. Or you probably can think of somebody else you'd like for them to take, maybe Donald Trump. Is this a conversation that Democrats should even be having, right? The New York Times editorial board, the Atlantic, and a lot of voices of the left are coming forward to say it's time for Biden to go. Then there are other people saying, shut up, this is not productive, it's too late to have this conversation. Do you think this is a conversation worth having, or is this just counterproductive?
I never run from debate. Yeah. And so, if we want to have this discussion internally, people can do that. But I'm confident that, the position I'm taking is the right one for a variety of reasons, and, including the fact that the president, I think, is the only person that's ever beaten Donald Trump in an election. And I think he can do it again, and he's done a great job. And all the talk about whether it's alien abduction or something else, I don't really see it, materializing into anything anyway. So I think more important would be, let's get back to the focus. You know, they're talking about Biden dropping out, but he's running against a guy that's been convicted of 34 felons. He's, you know, sexual assault finding in court. Was he $500 million on a corporate fraud finding? Isn't he the one that should drop out? It surprises me that how quickly that debate blew over as opposed to this one.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.